I'll call the meeting to order, and will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis. Present. Councilmember Wagner.
Present.
Councilmember Kerr. Here. Councilmember Corman.
Hello.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Thisted. Present. Mayor Riley.
Present.
There are 7 members present.
Thank you. First order of business is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve, or if anyone have any changes they'd like to see to the agenda? Councilmember Davis.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Sullivan seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. The next item is communications to council. I'd like to invite anyone who would like to speak to council this evening. Again, please step up to the podium, state your name, where you live in Keystone, and you may discuss any item that's on the agenda for this evening. You can discuss any item you desire to be on the agenda. Yes.
Christy Camp from CTIP. This is where, thank you. I just wanted to take a minute to review December's notes about an end of a natural gas pipeline ending in injection point in Breckenridge. It was said that 50 billion roughly to extend the new pipeline or make a new pipeline. And so it's a suggestion or a point to reduce natural gas use. And I just wanted to provide also a community solution. HC3, a local nonprofit, has an energy team that would like to help us with coming up with other uses of energy for the town besides natural gas, as well as I've been working with the Green Schools campaign nationwide and in Colorado. There are electrifying schools programs and solar in Colorado, many organizations providing assessment and solutions, and these are student-led initiatives. Just wanted to provide these community solutions as a positive toward that problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry Press, Hidden River Lodge. I just want to continue, since just the way Robert's rules work, so that you don't have to start at 0. The state, the county, and then your development code 3, they've got the DBA levels. So you can start with that, and then you want to add in C. So that's a good way to get some objective enforcement. You gotta have something that you can't just, well, the way it works now, the sheriff shows up, or animal control shows up, and they deem it being a nuisance, and they take care of it. But if you want to put some objective numbers in there, because this Dellen code ordinance is pretty vague. It doesn't really spell out what you got. I think it would be wise to have some levels or something. And 11 o'clock's too late. You got to cut noisy people off at 9, because then you got to call a sheriff, and then that's by 10. And you want to go to bed and get up, go to work at 5 or 6. So anyway, that's just a continuation of our work session.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other comments? Any comments from anyone online? No comments from online. Then the communications to council section is over, and we move to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda or make changes? Councilmember Davis.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second? Councilmember Corman.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? consent agenda is approved. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of 2 alternate positions for the Planning and Zoning Commission. And this evening, we're going to have interviews for those positions. Our first interview is with Diane Levensley from, I think, Ski Run. And Diane, what we'll do tonight is we have a series of questions for you. Lindsay, could you get her a chair?
Not good.
You're right.
No one ever knows how to say my last.
Do you want a chair up front?
Yeah, just put it like we've done in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Thank you.
Will
You're in the hot
the microphone pick her up right there with the owl?
I'll extend your
Fine.
welcome.
You will grab that one.
No, we have one right here. That's the microphone. We're sitting right here.
This one?
No, right here. There's a
Oh,
microphone
that's
here. Don't worry about
That's
it.
fine.
Just leave it there. We can hear you.
Okay.
All right. I'm sorry. We just wanted to make this a little more comfortable for you than standing and being grilled.
Okay.
But what the council will do is, we'll have a series of questions for you. We will rotate among council members asking questions. We'll probably give you an opportunity, in that you have an opportunity to, they all relate to the Planning and Zoning Commission, your views on that. We'll be going through the interviews today, this evening, and then after the interviews, the council will deliberate and then handle the election of the 2 alternate members for the council. Do you have any questions about any of that?
No.
Again, thank you very much for coming in this evening. We appreciate your time, and I know this is the second time you've applied for the commission, I believe.
And I wasn't interviewed last time.
You weren't interviewed last time. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Councilmember Thisted.
Hi, Diane. I'm Valerie. Thanks for coming. It was public record, your resume and your letter, because it was in the agenda packet, right? Correct? Okay, so we would like a short biography of yourself, and more importantly, tell us why you're interested in serving on the town of Keystone's Planning and Zoning Commission.
Well, I actually have experience, but it's quite a ways back that I served on a planning commission. It was for Douglas County in the early 80s. So I understand what, the job entails, I guess is the way to say it. But what was more interesting about this opportunity is that you're in the early stages of determining what's going to be in your master plan. So instead of just being in the position to compare what's being asked to be approved to what's in the master plan, there's an opportunity to have input into that master plan. And that was why I was interested. I've had my condo at Ski Run since 2004, so for 20 years. And I really like Keystone and the opportunity to provide some input into what Keystone's gonna be in the future was what appealed to me. I mentioned in my cover letter that I retired about 2.5 years ago, so I have time. And then the other part is that in my work experience, I worked for a couple of organizations involved with affordable housing, and I know that that's something that we need, workforce housing in the county. And so I just thought that I had a lot of experience that might be valuable at this time, and I have the time to provide that experience.
All right. Well, thank you. Councilmember Sullivan.
Very short one and then a little bit longer one. I
Okay.
see that your partner
Right.
And how often do you appear?
I'm very lucky to have 3 grandchildren that live up here. So I'm up here at least every other weekend, if not every weekend. And because I'm retired, weekend is now Thursday to Tuesday usually. So, you know, what's that? Not quite half time. Yeah.
The question, and thank you, and describe what you think the role of the planning commission is and who they represent, how they represent them.
What I think planning commission is, well, it's not always a comfortable job. Definitely, I experienced, you know, people disagreeing with, some of the meetings that we had. I think planning commission's job is to verify that what is being proposed to be developed matches what was agreed upon in the master plan. So I know maybe there's a little gray area right now because the master plan is going to be in flux, but it's really to make sure that that Lindsay and the staff have dotted all the i's and crossed all the t's and made sure that they're providing to the planning commission something that agrees with what's been agreed upon to be Keystone. And of course, you can never think of everything. And so there's always gray area and the opportunity for discussion. And you have to come to some kind of consensus as a group as to whether or not you'll be suggesting that a development go forward.
I'm next.
No,
You told me 3?
no, but he's.
So I have a question that was.
He's too late.
Yeah. I'm 2A, although 2A kind of got asked again. So I'll just ask you slightly different flavor of that. Where's your vehicle registered and where do you look?
In Douglas County, Colorado.
Okay. Thank you.
3. Hi, I'm Carol. I wanted to ask you a question and come back to part of Dan's question. Can you explain to us what you think the role of a planning commissioner, no, not the role, but who you represent and who are you primarily responsible to?
As a planning commissioner, well, I think you represent the will of the people, but the people have made the master plan or agreed to the master plan. And so you come with your own, ideas and opinions, but you ultimately represent the community.
And who are you primarily responsible to? Is that the same answer?
I don't really know what you mean by that, sorry. Responsible to.
Who do you give your reports to? Or your recommendations to?
Oh, to the town council.
Oh, this is supposed to be a trick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Diane, now we're going to give a look at the Land Use and Development Code and its purpose. Why is the Land Use and Development Code important, and how frequently do you think it needs to be amended?
I think that's the second part especially is a really interesting question because of Keystone being new. So my expectation would be that there would likely be a lot of amendments as you are working through as a group, you know, again, what we want Keystone to be in the next 40, 50 years. It's not, I mean, I don't think people get it all right the first time, which is why I think there would be multiple amendments. Now, what was the first part of that question? The first part?
First part of the question is, why is the code important?
Why is it important? You have to start with saying who you are, what you want your community to be, and you don't want to be flip-flopping depending on what's being put in front of you. So I think it's important to have it because it sort of is the baseline of what town council agreed to when they approved it. But again, when I was on the planning commission that I told you I was on in the early 80s, we didn't make a lot of changes, but it had been in place for a long time. There was already sort of an understanding of where we were headed. And maybe you have that understanding and I don't know that, but I got the impression from talking to Lindsay that, you know, we're starting with something that was written by the county, but it's not necessarily fleshed out yet for this new town.
I think the council members would probably agree that your assessment is probably correct, that we were forced to have something from the county, and yeah, there's going to be changes.
Right.
So, all right, Councilmember Davis.
So thank you for coming tonight. You talked a lot about you mentioned master plan and, you know, we're getting ready to go into that process. How would you describe the role of a master plan in the town of Keystone?
It's your vision. And it has enough specificity to show what that vision is, but it also has flexibility to allow for the fact that you never know everything that's going to be coming before you.
Councilmember Dana.
Thank you for being here today. Excuse me. In your opinion, what are the 2 or 3 most important issues that face our community, and what should the town of Keystone do about them?
Well, I don't know if I know the answer to what to do about them, but I feel, well, I'm going to say 3 instead of 2. I think the highway running right through the center of Keystone without sensitivity to school children or people crossing the road. And I know that's a really hard one because it's not a town road, it's a state road. But I feel like that's important. I think that the need for workforce housing is important. And I don't think that that's real hard to, maybe because I worked in that arena, but I don't think that's real hard to do something about as long as there's support for it. And now what might come with the third one was what I was going to say. I don't know. I'll have to go with it since you only asked for 2.
Does anyone else have any? Councilmember Lister.
Yes.
So I have 2, so forgive me. 1, I would like you to identify who you think the main stakeholders in Keystone are. And then 2, you mentioned a a phrase, what you want Keystone to be in 40 or 50 years. And I'm curious what your vision is.
I've been thinking about that, not only because of, considering being on planning and zoning, but because of watching, Silver Slide and what's in its growth. That's where my, son and daughter-in-law are living. And, I don't want to see, condos right up next to the road, the way they've chosen to do it in Silverthorne. I think they're, I thought of what the third thing was. Okay, I think that, we need more, commercial and retail tax space. And, so I think that there is definitely a need to develop, commercial and retail, probably, along the major roads. But I hope that we can keep what feels like, the beauty and wilderness that brought us all here. So some balance in that. And then, now I forget the first part of the question again.
Stakeholders in Keystone. Who are the stakeholders in Keystone? Who would you identify as different stakeholders in Keystone? And this conversation around the master plan?
I'm not sure.
By stakeholders, she means larger groups or people that are involved in the community.
Well, obviously, their resorts is a big one. And then, I've been on my, HOA board also for like 10 years. So I think as trying to get the, HOAs to express, what they want to see in this town. And, I know you wrestled, with how much input should there be from people who come up here half-time and people who live here full-time. And I guess being a person who doesn't live here all the time, I hope that you'll always consider us stakeholders as well as the people who live here full-time, because this place is really important to people who have a second home as well, or who have an investment property. Is that where you're headed?
Does anyone else have any questions? John?
Let's say that there was a decision to come to the planning commission, and you might personally believe that it is against the vision for the community that the impacted property is on, but the code might specify something else. How would you give your perspective on that decision? And how would you look to make a change if you think that there is a change that is needed?
Yeah, that's obviously the hardest part of the job, because you have to ultimately go with what has been approved by the town council in your master plan. But if you think, based on what you're reviewing, that there should be other consideration, it should potentially be different, or you should consider it differently, then that's where you just have to speak up and say why. And it probably won't be approved the way you're thinking, but at least, you've put something out there for people to consider.
Councilmember Kerr.
Hi, me again. You had made a reference earlier to some experience working in housing or housing development. I didn't quite get it. Do you want to give us more information about that? Would it be helpful?
I worked for 14 years for an organization called Mercy Housing based in Denver, which is a nonprofit that builds, manages, and lends money for affordable housing to be built throughout the United States. And my role was, I was the head of the loan fund. So that was the money that went to developers of affordable housing throughout the US. And it was not just rental housing, it was also for sale housing. And we worked with kind of the whole spectrum of nonprofits. It was only nonprofits that we went to, but some, really small, locally based, like sometimes churches, all the way up to professional developers of affordable housing. And then after that position, I worked for 2 years for the Colorado Division of Housing, and then 10 years for the Housing Authority for Douglas County. I was the director. And while I was there, we redeveloped a property that was senior housing, and so that time I was the one going in front of planning and zoning and ultimately the town council.
Thank you.
Well, Diane, thank you very much for coming in.
You're welcome. But one more question.
One quick question.
All right.
I was hoping you just could clarify an answer you gave where you said, in the same answer, both of you wanted to preserve the wilderness character of our community, but also you felt that you were pro-development around the main roads. How do you balance that given that 3/4 of this community is within 300 meters of the main road?
It's really tough, but I guess what you do, you know how, like, you often see, like, there'll be commercial development, and then there'll be apartments, and then there'll be single-family homes, and if we could have something like that, and then the single-family homes or the condos, open space. So
I love your vision. I guess I would ask for some further clarification. Since so much of our land is built out, and we already have commercial touching single-family home neighborhoods. And a lot of what I imagine planning development will be looking at is redevelopment. How would you manage that balance?
well, I think you look at setbacks, and you look at building heights and space between properties. I don't know if I have all the answers, but that's what comes to mind.
I put you on the spot. I appreciate your answer.
Well, again, Diane, thank you very much for coming in. And, Lindsay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Valerie, would you please ask all the candidates the same questions you asked?
Of course.
And the same thing for you, John. And I think yours is very specific. Both of yours are very specific answers.
Yeah, they were just clarification.
I want to make sure we.
Consistency is good.
Valerie, how about, how about you taking question 4, and I'll take question 1. Now, the way, since Aaron added in,
Okay.
we now have 1 for
We
everybody.
have 3 and 3.
So you and I will just trade.
Ken, so I'd ask the question as when?
What?
I should ask.
Yeah, ask a question. It's,
It's gonna be a cold weekend.
So, hot seat right up there.
19, wind chill or Tuesday?
What are you planning for your, I'm not going to be that day. It'll be.
Mark, thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate you taking the time and certainly for applying to the planning commission. We're going to be doing interviews tonight. We will be interviewing 3 candidates tonight. There are actually 4 applicants that will be considered. And we'll be making the decision and actually going through the deliberation election process right after we do we complete these interviews. So with that, why don't you give us just a short biography of yourself and why you tell us why you're interested in serving on our planning commission, planning commission.
Yes, my name is Mark Wilcoxon, born in Missouri. Family started coming out to Colorado in the 1940s, started in Evergreen, my grandparents, and then in the 90s, moved from Evergreen over to Keystone, and have been here ever since. During COVID, got my realtor's license, started in Denver, and got on the election commission for Keystone, and that was really rewarding, really enjoyed watching, participating in that process. Which led me to, when I started playing zoning, just a further iteration of helping Keystone develop and watching it progress into the future. And that's kind of my main impetus is, just want to see Keystone grow. I'm so happy that it's a town. And planning and zoning would just be great to see how that future is to be planned.
All right. Thank you.
You're still 2.
You're too, go ahead.
Work with Mark on the election commission. Appreciate that work you did for us. That's great. Describe what you think the role of the planning commissioner is and who they represent.
Well, I think that a commissioner should represent kind of the best interest of the whole city, with the greater good. I'm pretty new, so that's not completely versed in what exactly is entailed in the process of planning and zoning. It seemed logical since I started a real estate career. I'm already in the county all the time. And so it just seems like a nice little extension as I've developed my craft.
Permit?
Hi, I'm Aaron. So kind of a 3-part question. Where's your vehicle registered? Where are you registered to vote? And how many days a year do you spend outside of Summit County for personal and professional reasons?
Vehicle is registered in Colorado, Summit County. I live in Elk Run, so registered to vote here in Keystone. Probably gone 2 to 3 weeks out of the year. This last fall, my father was dying, so I was in the Missouri bunch. That's been resolved. So I live full time in Keystone, work in Frisco, Breckenridge offices for government. So I'm here all the time.
I'm sorry about your father. That's a hard thing. Thank you for your answer.
Hi, Mark.
Hello.
I'm Carol, and I would ask who you think the planning commission is responsible to.
Well, I would think the council, city council, since they're elected officials.
Okay.
Councilmember Thisted?
Sorry, I got any question. Talk to us about the purpose of the land use and development code and why is the land use and development code important and how often or frequently do you use it?
I have a basic understanding of that. I think it's where you have all the different classifications to try to have balance between commercial, residential, be it agriculture, and other areas. I would think that it needs to be quite responsive. I mean, Keystone just became a town. It's not like anything cataclysmic is going to be changing, but it probably needs to be readdressed every 1 or 2 years since we have all these wild cards like short-term rentals, things like that, and possibility of bringing commercial in, more commercial businesses in. Also, I think, the main strip, going down, trying to get things like a sidewalk, more traffic lights, and just trying to make Keystone a county.
All right. Councilmember Davis?
Hi, Mark, good to see you again, as a fellow Missouri for 40 years. I how would you describe the role of the master plan in the town of Keystone?
The role of the master,
Right, realizing we're in the process of about to develop one, but when it's developed, how do you see it working?
for me, I think it's just all about balance. I mean, we have like, a very large 800-pound gorilla in the being Vail resource, trying to mix that, with the interest of the residents of Keystone, being fully aware that most of the revenue comes from vacation, lodging. So it's kind of a mix between the homeowners and the visitors.
All right.
Thanks for being here today. So in your opinion, what are 2 or 3 of the most important issues facing our community? And what should the town of Keystone do about them?
I think lodging tax, the whole idea of Keystone becoming a town was to have more control, kind of taxation with representation. So I think, that's gonna be a very important component, of how we find that balance between the homeowners and the people who want to do short-term rentals. I'm in the real estate industry, so I get tons of people from all over the country. A lot of those people who want to start building equity and start, trying to have their dream second home. A lot of them want to finance that through, renting it out to help kind of buttress their expenses. And a lot of people see that window closing. I think it's great that Keystone just kind of found a balance. Being on the HOA, boards, it's never going to be a solution that's going to make everyone happy. It's trying to find somewhat of a balance. So I think that's a huge issue. Probably having establishing law enforcement in town would be important, and just developing the infrastructure, like sidewalk, traffic lights, just basic, just to improve the town.
All right, thank you. And, Councilmember Fisk, did you have a couple more questions?
I have 2 questions. Forgive me for layering them. If you need me to ask them individually, I can go back and restate them. Do you mind identifying the stakeholders you think exist in Keystone and how they interact? And then number 2, what do you think the vision should be for Keystone in the next 10, 20, 40 years and beyond?
I didn't quite hear you in the first part. You said
Identify the stakeholders in Keystone.
I think the stakeholders would be Vail Resorts and the property owners, business owners. Since we have some people that they don't live in Keystone, they definitely work and have their sweat in Keystone, and probably also the resort employees and how that responds to finding affordable housing for them.
And then second, your vision for Keystone 10, 20, 30 years down the road.
I would love to see it. It's my understanding that Keystone still has 25% room for expansion. I think that's great. There, since we see that Breckenridge is doing their last neighborhood development, so that kind of filling out that 25%. I think, like we see what's going on in River Run. Love to see the Keystone Mountain House area get kind of developed. Just continue to see Keystone get built out.
Could I ask a clarifying question? When you said what's happening in River Run, could you elaborate on what?
Kind of Keystone resorts and there's creating that new center. You see like Brightwood going on, the lodge. It seems like since Keystone's become a town, we've seen a lot more growth. It seemed like it was kind of stagnant in the 2000s. I think having Keystone being in control of the lodging revenue, it enables it to really make those kind of changes that before, my understanding was that things would be proposed to the county, and that would be kind of considered, it would be kind of, maybe considered, maybe not, because it was a priority. So yeah, I guess I would like to see Keystone continue to be developed and expanded.
And Councilmember Hagan, do you have 2 other questions? What's the question?
Only one, I believe, to start off with. What would you do if an applicant for the planning commission were to come to the commission and their application might go against the views of the community, right? So the values of the neighborhood that's being impacted, but technically might be in line with the code. How would you offer a decision on that? And then would you try to affect change afterwards? If so, how?
That's pretty difficult.
That's really not the question.
Yeah, I think, when people are involved in small local government, that they have their, the best interest at heart, even if it is divergent interest. Trying to come to an understanding of that viewpoint, and trying to find a balance. It's like everything else in life, it's all about compromise. Trying to find, give and take. I think it would be, one way to address it. And say there, something was enacted that really went against all the people, that's, what elections are for. And there could definitely be, I think it would be outrageous to not re-examine the issue. I don't think anything's sacrosanct where it's set in stone and should be never changing.
Yeah, I was just about to go on and ask that. Would anyone else like to ask something? Your hand up?
Yeah, just kind of a brief clarifying question, it's kind of like the one that I asked the last candidate is, I heard you say you want Keystone to grow, you're very excited about the big developments going on, you want to see more development. Okay, you're realistic, obviously that's good for business, right? So how do you balance development with the wilderness nature of our community?
That is definitely difficult. I also volunteer with the Prison Dillon Ranger Station.
I saw it.
So, that's a topic that's definitely always on their mind and they're discussing. And I think they're even realistic, they're the one who mentioned, there's still room for growth, 25% expansion. I think, like the new Erickson lift, there were some kind of hiccups in the beginning, but overall, they ride on it and, it was good development. I think you could do it responsibly, but I think the main thing is, yes, it's great that we get a lot more vacation homes and properties, but also balancing out with workforce housing. And I think, like Wintergreen, it's great that these Keystone's making the effort, as opposed to having everyone just come in from the Leadville.
Councilmember Kerr.
Hi, I just want to follow up on something you said earlier, because your personal interest in doing this is important, and you said you thought it could help you develop your craft. And I wondered if you could expand on that.
Based on my knowledge of the Keystone area, the more time I spend here, right now I do a lot of open houses, show property, but being on the planning commission just lets me have a lot more knowledge of Keystone and what's going on.
Okay.
And also pass on to my clients.
Okay.
Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
As I mentioned, we'll be going through the election process at the last interview. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your past service to Keystone.
I don't remember the Erickson, but it was a triple chairlift that came out of where the current mid station is for the gondola. It hasn't
I
existed.
thought that was over for
Oh, you're right, it was a little over. It was a little over.
it was over to the
Right at the bottom of Missouri and Santa Fe, yeah. I'm sure it's not independent. I believe that.
It's tough when you're on the hot sheet.
It is.
No, just kidding, I like that.
Good to see you guys again.
And thank you very much for coming in, and thank you for applying for the planning commission. What we're doing tonight, we're interviewing candidates. We have 2 vacancies for alternate positions. Today, we have 4 candidates who we're considering this evening. 3 of them are here, so we're having 3 interviews. At the completion of the interviews, we're going to be going through the deliberation and the election process to elect members for the planning commission. That gives you an idea of what's going on tonight. For this process, we're just going to be, you've been through what's similar to this in the past. And we'll be asking a group of questions. And again, just appreciate you being here. And to start off, could you give us a short biography about yourself and tell us why you're interested in serving on our planning commission?
Sure. So I was born in Boulder. I started coming to Keystone in kindergarten. I learned how to ski at Keystone. We used to come up on the weekends. After that, my family bought a condo in the Dakota building before it was built. We started coming up every weekend throughout my whole life. I started coming in college by myself. I met my husband here when I was 18. My father passed away in 2010, and after that, I decided to move here permanently. I just kind of wanted to get away from the Boulder scene. And there was 1 year where I did go back down to Boulder to work on school, but I've been here permanently since 2012. I have worked for Vail Resorts. I have also worked for a merchant in the village. I was a manager and buyer for Ours Got a Clothing Company. I don't know if you remember that. I'm no longer there, but and I am now a teacher at Bob Furniture School in Silverthorne. I have 2 small children. I have a 2 and a 4-year-old. And we have lived in Keystone specifically, I think, since 2013 or 14. So we lived like 1 or 2 other cities before we moved here.
Well, thank you. Councilmember Sullivan.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I greatly admire you. I babysat my 2 and 4-year-old grandchild this Christmas. It sucked. Anyway, could you describe what you think the role of the planning commission is and who they represent?
Represent the community to really decide what you want Keystone to be and where it should go. I think, like I said, since I've seen Keystone through so many different perspectives, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm really passionate about it. But to me, just being able to have a voice in kind of supporting where Keystone's going in terms of like infrastructure, land use, planning. I really think there needs to be a balance between like keeping the environmental aspect of Keystone and why people come here because they really love it for what it is, as well as realizing that there has to be growth and a future. And now that we're a town, things need to be done and to kind of see where we want to take that and set a plan in motion to really see what the future of Keystone looks like. And so I'm just interested in being a part of that.
Thank you, Councilmember Parmet.
Hello again, welcome back. 3-part question. In what county is your car registered? Where are you registered to vote? And how many days do you spend outside of Summit County for personal or professional reasons?
Carr, Summit County, Boulder, Keystone. I'm here full-time year-round, but unless I like maybe go see my family in the foothills for a weekend or 2. That's good.
Thank you.
Sure.
Councilmember Kerr.
Hi, Kaylee. Let me start by saying goodbye. I'm very sorry they closed next door. But now that we're here, who do you think a planning commission is primarily responsible to?
I think the community, right? Like we need to serve the people that are coming in. There's going to be a lot of, there already have been, right? A lot of people interested now that we're a town, to see what we have and what we can do with our space. But ultimately, I think we owe it to the people who live here, as well as the visitors and the second homeowners, to really create and support the culture of Keystone and the vision of what we want that to be. I think there's a lot of other resorts in this area, right? There's Copper for what Copper is, Breck for what Breck is, and people come to Keystone because it's Keystone. And to me, I think planning commission is in charge of being able to have a say in what the future looks like in terms of building and traffic and all the things that come into play with that. And I think we are in a really prime position right now to make a lot of really cool choices to see what the future looks like. And like I said, since I've seen it from pretty much my entire life before and seen the growth and seen, the ups and downs, many good, many bad, different things that have come, and just seeing it kind of fluctuate. And I'm interested to see like where it can go. And I'm passionate about being able to understand like all the different perspectives of what people want it to look like themselves and how we can all come to like agree upon something that really serves everyone as a whole.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis. Well, Councilmember Thiston, I'm sorry.
Oh, hi, for coming. Why is the land development code important and how often should it be amended?
I mean, I think it's important just because we need to be really, Keystone doesn't have a lot of land to work with, right? We have to be really conscious about what we're doing with what we have. If we had vast amounts of land, we could really play with it and get creative about what we wanted to do, but these small little pieces that we have are very vital to being able to cultivate exactly what we want and make sure we're on the right track for what we want it to be. I personally don't have a timeline in terms of like what I think is right. I think I'd like to learn a little bit more about like what other people, think about that. I mean, I think a regular awareness of that is important because I am a little bit nervous about how many changes have happened in such a short time that I do think we need to keep eyes on that on a very consistent basis. Personally, I don't have a number specifically that I'm comfortable throwing out there, but I think paying attention to that detail and being really aware of it is pretty vital in this stage of where we're at as a town.
Councilmember Davis.
Good to see you again, Helen. So how would you describe the role of the master plan in the town of Keystone, realizing we don't have one yet? But how do you see it forming the town?
I mean, I think we've been waiting for a long time for a master plan, and we're really excited about getting that off the ground, right? I think once we're finally making those, we're getting closer and closer, right, to making those choices and being able to just have a grand vision, right? I think that's something I spent a lot of time thinking about is, we're making a lot of choices right now, but we have to look long term. Like, what is Keystone going to be like in 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years? I think especially as a mom, I spent a lot of time thinking about what is Keystone going to look like for my own children, the way that it looked like for me, right? It was vastly different. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about it, because I want to be a part of making it somewhere that they enjoy the way that I enjoyed it when I was young. And so being able to have something that we can stick to and know where we're all headed and work through it is something I'm really excited about.
Councilmember Hayner.
Thanks for being here today. In your opinion, what are 2 or 3 of the most important issues that face our community, and what should the town of Keystone do about them?
Personally, traffic is a huge one for me. That's been something that I've just seen even since I was little. It scares me every day. My husband has to walk across the street to go to work, and I used to walk across the street to go to work, and it's scary. And thinking about too, when my children are old enough to take the bus and they go down there, like at this point in time, I don't feel very comfortable with them being right down there by the highway. And I'd like that to be a main focus, and I think that it is. It's been brought up almost at every meeting for a long time. But also I think environmental sustainability is something I'm really passionate about too. I really want to ensure that, like what I said before, making sure Keystone stays true to what it really is in terms of like preserving the natural beauty that we have, right? It's why people come here. It's why we love it. It's why we live here. It's really necessary to find a safe balance between growth as a town and preserving the reason why we all love it.
Councilmember Thiston.
So you kind of alluded to both of these questions, so feel free to defer to your prior answer, but I want to give you a chance to answer them again if you want to expand.
Sure.
Do you mind identifying the primary stakeholders in Keystone? And then secondly, in terms of your vision, what is your vision for 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road for the town of Keystone?
So you're saying who, can you elaborate a little bit? Like, you're saying homeowners, second homeowners, residents, things like that. Yeah. I mean, I think this is a really unique area where we really need to make sure we are taking care of all of the different aspects. It's not just a regular city in Denver where, just residents live. I think we have people from all over the world that come here. We need to make sure we're appealing to them, the people that actually live here, as well as second homeowners. Like I said, my family, bought a condo Keystone as a second homeowner, and I essentially came up as a second homeowner. So I think seeing it from all of those different perspectives, has really helped me realize how important all of it is. And you can't just, I think some people get heated about one or the other based on where they stand, but we have to realize that Keystone is unique in the sense that we do support a lot of different perspectives and people that come here. And again, we all come here for the same reason, or everybody comes here for the same reason, but it's important that we tailor what we have to all those people to ensure that, this is really what we want to be for them. What was the second part of the question? Sorry.
What your vision is for Keystone now and in the future?
I mean, I think I'd like it to stay the same in a lot of ways. Like I said, Breckenridge is Breckenridge, Beaver Creek is Beaver Creek, Vale is Vale. I think people come to Keystone because it's smaller, because it's family oriented, because it's not as busy as some of those other resorts, and it has, a different mountain layout and things like that. I think in a lot of ways, again, I want to continue to preserve that natural beauty, like I said before, but I would like to see some modern growth in terms of infrastructure and buildings, and just see better traffic patterns, better movement throughout, so that people can actually come in and out of here without it always being kind of crazy. But really, I think I would like to preserve it as much as possible while also doing what needs to be done in order to make it safer, more appealing for people to come in and out freely and openly without the congestion. And really safety is probably something that I would want to focus on more than anything. I think that's a really lacking area right now, and I think Keystone has a lot of great things going for it. I do just think there's some things that can be done to really ensure we're keeping guests and residents and, second homeowners safe and happy and thought of.
Councilmember Higgins.
Yeah, so my question is related to if you have an applicant for the planning commission that might go against what you view as the community's values. Great examples, Loveland Pass Village, right? There's an applicant coming to Loveland Pass Village, might go against what you view as the community's wishes for that, but might technically follow the code. How would you offer a decision in that case? And would you try to effect change afterwards? If so, how?
I mean, I think each case is going to be unique to the way that it is, right? I think taking the perspectives of everyone involved is important. I think it's important to understand the impacts of the residential area that you're working with, because it is unique. Like you're saying, Loveland Pass Village, it's not like any other area that we have in Keystone. So we do have to be mindful of that. But again, yeah, if rules are rules, I think we need to be fair. Fairness and equality is vital to working through these issues. And whether I disagree with it or not, that's not my fault to make, right? That's why I think you have a board to have multiple perspectives, and all kind of come together for the greater good. And, even if I disagree with it, I think if it's what's supposed to happen and what needs to happen, I think hearing all the voices is great, but ultimately we need to follow the rules.
Any other questions or follow-ups? Councilmember Kerr.
Hi, Kelly. When you mentioned putting Boulder behind you, that could have been for any number of reasons, but I wonder if you could look back as a community member and think of one thing about their vision that you would like to think about for us, or one thing that really doesn't work here.
You mean in terms of Boulder?
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, Boulder is its own strange place too, right? Like its own values and things like that. But I do think that sustainability is something that Boulder is really great at. I think being environmentally responsible is something that Boulder is really great at. Protecting the environment, keeping those open space areas, solid. Like my family lives right next to an open space area, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for that passion for preservation, because Boulder has grown a lot. A lot of people aren't very excited with how, Boulder has grown, but I do love that regardless, the natural beauty is something that everyone who lives there and everyone that comes to visit there is thankful that exists and thankful that is preserved, and that's something that I hope, no matter who or what, or comes here, that that's something that is always, thought of here as well.
Thank you very much, Kayla. I appreciate you coming in again and speaking to us. And again, we'll be going through deliberations right after this. And we should have this evening.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We're now going to go through the appointment process to fill the vacancy. And just as a reminder, we do have 2 vacancies for the Planning and Zoning Commission for the alternate positions. One's going to be a 3-year term, one's on a 2-year term. And before beginning the appointment process, I'm going to open the floor for council members to provide any comments if they'd like. Then for the process of appointment, I'll call for nominations from the floor. This means I'll ask council members to verbally nominate individuals for the vacancies. Once there's no further nominations, I'll announce that the opportunity for nominations is closed. Then close their nominations, I'll announce the name of each individual who's been nominated. I'll then ask council members to fill out a ballot for the appointment of the 3-year term. If no candidate receives votes from the majority of the council members present, the candidates receiving no votes and the candidate receiving the least number of votes will be eliminated and will revote. And that process will continue until we have a candidate with the majority voting for them. If we have a tie, and we'll have the ties with a revote, and if the revote results in the same results, then we'll draw lots for the person that will go forward. And after selection of the candidate to serve with a 3-year term, we'll vote for the candidate for a 2-year term, and then we'll just repeat that process until it's went through. Does anyone on the council have any questions or objections to the process? Councilmember Parmet?
So these 3 are the 3 candidates for.
There'll be 5 candidates.
Okay.
4.
4 candidates.
4 candidates.
Yep.
Adjustment.
Joe Desmond is also a candidate. She was just not able to make it to the event. See,
But we all have her resume and her application.
everyone has her information, yes. And you have a question? Yes, Councilmember Faginell.
Are we able to ask questions of staff which might help us make decisions?
I wouldn't have any objection to that, no.
Thank you.
Although I would caution you not to ask the staff which candidates they would prefer.
No, that's not my question.
I'm trying to prevent our, to protect our community development. Thank you. Now the floor is now open for council member comments. Councilmember Sullivan.
Just a question, really. One of the things that came up during our charter commission was the concern or issue of people living here versus not being on the planning commission. Important question, how many on the current commission are current residents versus not residents? You know that?
Community Development Director.
So I started tabulating that, and the thing that I also looked at was geographically, where are the existing planning commissioners, where they live and things like that. So I did that inventory. As far as actually primary residency, I think that's what you're asking. I don't have all the answers. I apologize. Kathy Rod, she's permanent. Jacobson is not. She Melanie is, thank you for the help. David is coach. Coach. Tim is, and, Wendy is, or is not? Is, and Peter, Madeline, I believe is.
One.
So in essence, there's one. So potentially we could appoint one non-resident, still be.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments, Councilmember Fisker?
I just have a quick comment because I think in the past, with KOA and other organizations we've had in Keystone, we've been very deliberate about geographic distribution. However, one thing that has occurred to me is that we really need to take into consideration where the concentrations of residents exist in Keystone. So it's not always easy to get that geographic distribution, given the fact that Loveland Pass Village is a naturally existing residential neighborhood in Keystone with one of the largest concentrations of residents. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
Councilmember Hagan.
Building on that, I would also like to highlight that one of the most vocal communities in our town has been Loveland Pass Village, and not in a negative way, in any way, shape, or form, just has been very engaged in our process this far. And so I would love to see some more representation from that community.
Councilmember Parmet.
Echoing Councilmember Hagen's point, there was always the question in the past, like, if that community is vocal, well, will they participate? And the answer is yes. We have 3 people who were initially candidates. One of them pulled out. We have 2 candidates from there. So the ask was made, and that neighborhood answered. And so the question of the council is, are the people coming forward? Do they meet what we're looking for?
Councilmember Fisker.
I think it's probably not a secret where my interests lie in terms of appointing residents to represent us, especially in this really pivotal time on our planning and setting the foundation for Keystone. But I think we have a really unique opportunity tonight in the fact that we're appointing 2 for different terms to appoint a resident and a non-resident who are really strong candidates.
Madam Attorney.
I just wanted to clarify a point and just make sure I heard correctly. So the ordinance setting up the Planning and Zoning Commission states that the majority of the membership of the Planning and Zoning Commission shall consist of primary residents. And you have 9 members on the Planning and Zoning Commission. So you could have 4 who are non-primary residents.
Right, but there's only one non-primary consideration. That's where we're saying, well, can we choose that person? Answer is we can. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to thank you.
Councilmember Hagan.
Just to be fair, we have heard from 3 of the candidates tonight, but I would love some perspective on the 4th candidate, Ms. Desmond, that I might not personally know very well, and I would like to see if there's any perspective that my fellow council members could share in making this decision.
I've met Jill. I wouldn't say I know Jill, but she has a really awesome resume and really dedicated to the arts. And her full-time job is the senior director of programs and campus experience for Breck Create. And I think some of the Breck art has been pretty awesome. Their arts district is pretty sweet.
Councilmember Fisker.
I would speak on Jill's behalf. I don't know her. I wouldn't consider her a close association, but I did meet her through the entire Keystone incorporation process. So I met her a number of years ago. She's very invested in Keystone, longtime resident. Her partner is a longtime resident. He used to own, I believe, Mitch's Deli in Mountain View. He's a fly fishing guide. They're both very ingrained and longstanding members of this community. And although she hasn't been a very vocal member of Loveland Pass Village, she has been engaged on a more interpersonal level and is very well respected in Loveland Pass Village.
Now, I'll speak as well. I've had an opportunity to interact with Jill. I've seen her actually a little bit more vocal than perhaps you have, that's the village as well, so she is engaged. I think all of the candidates we have are very viable candidates for the planning commission. I don't think we could make a lot of mistakes in who we select. Councilmember Fermat?
I think I'll just add, I think she's been in LPB since the 90s.
Yeah.
And given we could have potentially up to 4 candidates, I would love to circle back and re-understand the voting process and discuss whether that matches the ranked choice voting that I think we had used in the past.
No, we've never used ranked choice voting.
Didn't we use ranked choice voting for the original?
No.
Yeah, for the original selection of the Planning and Zoning Commission when we had 9 people?
No.
Did we hold sequential votes?
I'm not sure how we handled the votes.
We did, we had a ranked choice where we put numbers by them.
Let's go, Council.
Well, so my understanding, I don't believe that I was here for the Planning and Zoning Commission original appointment, but I did prepare the script for it. And it was following Bob's Rules of Order, which is what you're following tonight as well. So the voting process should be consistent with how it was handled.
I believe we changed that night, and you also advised us, correct me if I'm wrong, that we could choose to use ranked choice voting.
You can change it to a different process.
I don't believe we've ever used ranked choice voting. I know I would not have voted for it.
I don't think it was right.
We made,
What did we do about it?
Then how is that not ranked choice voting?
This one cuts off the last, vote, depending on voting cut off.
Right, so this is a sequential series of votes, the ranked choice automatically does that.
but in this case, we will actually have a majority of council voting for the person to select.
Okay.
So I guess the question is, does the council want to change the proposed method of voting or not? And the question is, thumbs up, keep what we have?
You mean what you proposed?
What we propose?
Yes, that's what it is.
I appreciate the discussion.
All right. All right. With that, I'd like to close the comment period, and I will ask for nominations from the floor. And would you please raise your hand for your nomination, and you may nominate 2 individuals. Council members listed.
I'd like to nominate Kaylee Warren and Jill Desmond for planning commission.
Second.
No second is required. Warren and Jill Desmond, all right? Councilmember Sullivan.
Diane. I won't pronounce my name. Levinsley.
Was there any other nomination?
I don't, I mean, there would have been someone that was already nominated.
Got it, thank you. Is there any other nominations? Councilmember Davis.
I'd like to nominate Mark Wilcoxon.
All right. So the individuals who have been nominated are Kaylee Warren, Jill Desmond, Diane Levinsley, and Mark Wilcox, the 4 candidates that we were considering. At this point, we'll go into completing the ballots, and we'll be completing the ballots of 1 at a time, the votes. Madam Clerk, please hand out the ballot for the Planning and Zoning Commission, all of it, member position for a 3-year term. Council members will write their name on the ballot and the name of 1 individual that would like to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission in the alternate position for 3 years.
Who wants to loan me a pen?
I heard
I did not pay it, right?
Yeah, just one.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please collect the ballots?
Oh, no, I set you up.
There are 6 votes for Kaylee Warren and 1 vote for Diane Leasley.
Following individuals appointed to the alternate position for a 3-year term, and that is Kaylee Warren. Madam Clerk, please hand out the ballots for the Planning and Zoning Commission alternate member position for the 2-year term. Council members, write the names of the individuals that you would like to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission and the alternate position for 2 years. Madam Clerk, would you please collect the ballots and complete the tally?
This is like a hanging chad for me.
I figured it would have been my hand.
Well, this just proves the integrity of the town clerk.
Alright, there are 4 votes for Diane Leasley, 2 votes for Jill Desmond, and 1 vote for Mark Wilcoxon.
All right. The following individuals are appointed to the alternate position for a 2-year term, and that is Diane Levensley. And again, reviewing the results, Kaylee Warren is appointed to the 3-year position, and Diane Levensley is appointed to the 2-year term. Can I get a motion to approve resolution 2025-24, which would state a resolution of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, appointing and setting the terms of the 2 vacant alternate members of the Town Planning and Zoning Commission, and appointing Kaylee Warren as the alternate member for the 3-year term, and Diane Levensley as the alternate member for the 2-year term.
So moved.
That's moved in second.
Just quick clarification for the record, it's 2025-04.
04.
Yes,
What did I say?
I think you said 24.
Oh, 04, yes. Thank you. With that, I'll call for a Roll call vote. And will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis.
Approved.
Councilmember Hagnow.
Approved.
Councilmember Kerr.
Approved.
Councilmember Clement.
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Approved.
Councilmember Thisted.
Approved.
Mayor Riley.
Approved.
There are 7 votes to approve.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda, if I can find the agenda, that's good news, is the report of the town manager and staff. He's there. Mr. Town Manager.
Hey, everybody. Hey, I am dropping fast. So what I'm going to do is send out a written manager's report to you all tomorrow. I do have one thing to say, though. A registration for the cast meeting on the, is it the 20th and 21st? Or no, 29th and 30th? I believe I sent out an email with the link. But the last day to register for the cast meeting in Breckenridge is today. So if you want to go, please register. It's a great opportunity, especially since it's in Breckenridge and you don't have to travel to go to it. But I'll send out a full written report tomorrow if that's okay.
Colorado Association Ski Towns
General
meeting.
Okay.
Cast.
So it's the core of the meeting.
No, it's the cast has meetings several times a year.
Oh, different regions. Got it.
Different areas. This one is in Breckenridge.
On the 29th and 30th of January.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Town Manager?
No, I'm going to not try to attend the executive session either. Our community development director is fully capable of handling that session. So.
I don't bus you've been thrown.
Again.
It's obviously on the.
All right. And now, any reports from the mayor of the council? Any council reports that you'd like to talk about tonight?
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Any council member reports? Councilmember Sullivan?
Just wanted to update people on the, I haven't updated the team yet on the post office, but I went to the post office today, postmaster, and he's agreed that if HOAs will fund cluster boxes, that the post office will do delivery for us. There is the Enclave, I guess, is brand new cluster box they're up and running, and we have requests from River Run, the Alders, North Fork, and the Pines. We're going to work with the staff to think through the process that we need to go through for approvals for locations, because many of these might be on streets, whether they're private, public, that might differ. How the approvals. USPS has agreed to support that and will also be involved.
Did you bring that to us? Tell us.
I have not covered. What we're recommending doing is in probably 30, 45 days, I'm recommending that the city sponsor a Zoom call for HOA presidents, and we'll have the USPS has agreed to participate in that, to talk about what is required for cluster boxes and the process, and that'll be probably in the March timeframe, and they've agreed to do that. The second thing that we talked about is zip codes, and they have new management out of Denver that supports this area. They've been briefed on our desire for a zip code. They've looked at it. They're in agreement that we should have a new zip code in this area. That's not, they don't make that decision, that's Washington. In April, the USPS Board of Governors is meeting to meet every 2 weeks, and they're shooting for our zip code nomination to be on that board meeting. Once that gets on the agenda, they're going to, our Michael's going to connect with us and ask us if we are interested in talking to our representatives in Washington so that they can go make the calls to the board. The interesting thing there was it's not just going to be Keystone, the zip code will also include Montezuma.
I'm a little ahead of you here on the elected representatives. I've discussed both I'm happy that the issue of the cluster boxes has now been resolved, because I did discuss that with both the regional director for Senator Bennett and for Congressman Nagoose, and they were willing to take that on, as well as some other issues they're working. And they're also willing to, once they understand a little bit more about the importance of the zip code, take the zip code issue on for us as well. So if I could get the town manager, if you could work with the town manager and maybe give a short one-pager, executive summary for folks who don't understand the importance of the zip code, I'd be happy to get that off to both of the regional directors, and then they could, and the importance of who they should be calling in that time period. I'm sure they would be more than happy to weigh in for us, and probably provide a letter to both of us, the board members. They were supportive.
Dan, can we let the enclave know that this may be going forward? The representative there is Susan, that person that's contacted me is Susan Davis, she's a board member.
Well, apparently, I'm told by the people, Michael, that the enclave does have it installed now. And
It's installed, but it is not.
And they started to take people's names, put their numbers on the boxes. We can talk about that offline, but that looks like it is in process. And they're starting to get delivery.
Oh, that's good.
Right. Any other? That's all. Council member Kerr.
On behalf of my colleagues, Congressman, I always do this, Councilmember Hagenow and Parmat, we manned the coffee/brew for the first coffee, which was an evening session. So our big question was the evening session going to be done, or would it attract people, especially working people? And even though the working people were in the small minority, they did come. We had 11 people, I think that would be that's the largest group, and they stayed a full 2 hours. The discussion points were pretty across the board. Our STR taxes, and how that's gonna run. The role of the SD group, what's the scope of work they're going to do, what will we get out of it? Talking about public transportation, land use. There were a number of questions that are actually for staff, so I'll put them together and ask Aaron and John to weigh in. What have I not mentioned?
The only thing I'd add to that is given the attendance and topics, we had shared that we'd like to see almost like small groups moving forward. So, and we did work with steep leadership, for lack of a better term, to facilitate that in the future. And so we'd like to really see the ability to rotate around almost kind of like, what I don't know.
Round.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that'd be something that I think would be really great to see in the future, to give a lot more opportunity to get various opinions across instead of a similar opinion.
Right. So that was Scott and Steve, who stuck around and asked us if it worked, really wants to work with us. So I think we should stick with well, either 2 mornings and an evening or every other.
I think I would add that we had very little workforce participation, but it wasn't because it wasn't a good idea, it's because we just kind of got, our time got snaked. By Snake River Saloon, there was a very large gathering there last month and support ski patrol thing, and that's where all workforce ended up. And I think that the evening's a great thing to keep doing. I think also, like, we can think about the fact that folks are super busy in February and March. If we did another evening one in April, I think we'd get really good workforce participation. I also love the idea, we kind of wrestled with, like, do we do it in the 2 hours before trivia, because that brings in a lot of the locals? Or do we do it on a Tuesday night? I'd be willing to try the 2 hours before trivia, and I'll stay for trivia.
Yeah, that's true. One more note, Gabby and Maddie did a great job publicizing. That's why we're there. Everyone who's there are getting their emails, looking there. I gave them the third degree. Why did you know about this? So your efforts are working for those.
Any other comments? Next week, I'll be going to CML Mayor Summit in Denver on Wednesday and Thursday. It ought to be interesting. It's also in conjunction with their Leadership Academy that they're also having at the same time. So I'll report back on what I hear at the Mayor Summit. And that's all I have. The next item, we're going into the executive session, and I'll ask Councilmember Davis to please give us a motion to do that.
We're going to go into an executive session pursuant to CRS section 24-6-402, 4 infrared, B infrared, and 4 infrared, G infrared, to receive legal advice related to an agreement with Vail Summit Resorts and to discuss documents subject to the non-disclosure requirements of the Colorado Living Records Act.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed, the motion is carried, passed unanimously. We passed the 2/3 threshold requirement to have the session. And with that,
Can we just do it here?
right.
I would vote for that.
Let's go to the library.